The ideal river generally has three distinct courses. The upper course is the portion of the river where the river flows over a very steep slope. The source is where the river originates. The upper course is generally in a highland. The river therefore flows very swiftly, is narrow, and the main work of the river in the upper course is erosion. As the gradient or the slope becomes gentle, the river enters its middle course. In the middle course, the river continues eroding, but since the gradient is now not as much as it was in the upper course, the river starts depositing as well. This deposition of the river is known as silt. Compared to the upper course, the river in the middle course becomes broader. As the river, we know that all water flows from a higher area to a lower area. So, as the river tries to reach the sea, it approaches the lower course. In the lower course, the gradient or slope is very gentle, and as it proceeds towards the sea, near the place where it meets the sea, the slope nearly becomes 0 meters. So the river flows in a very slow manner. The main work of the river here is depositing all the material that it has been transporting so far. And where did it get the material? It got the material through erosion. The river finally, at its mouth, forms a delta or an estuary and meets a sea or a lake. One of the most important rivers of the world is the river Nile. The river Nile is located in Africa. It rises from Lake Victoria and then moves northwards to meet the Mediterranean Sea. It is the longest river of the world with a length of over 6,500 kilometers. And we know that Nile was one of the oldest seats of civilization. The Egyptian civilization grew on the banks of river Nile. You can see in this slide some of the structures made by the ancient Egyptians which still stand proudly on the bank of the pristine blue river waters of the river Nile. The next river is the second longest river in the world, which is slightly shorter than the Nile. It is located in South America and rises from the Andes in Peru. So, Andes is a fold mountain and the Amazon River rises from the Andes and it flows all across the breadth of northern South America and reaches the Atlantic Ocean. The Amazonian rainforests, which are a lush green forested area, a vegetated area, they are famous. And basically, because as you can see, the great extent over which the Amazon rainforests stretch, the Amazonian rainforests are often referred to as the lungs of the world. And why is that? Because they contribute in absorbing the maximum amount of carbon dioxide and release a lot of fresh oxygen. Do you know that in the year 2020, the Amazon rainforests were burnt down to a great extent? The Mackenzie River is the longest river of Canada. It has the largest basin area. Look at the beautiful coniferous trees that have grown on the banks of this beautiful river. Because of the silt deposition, this area around the riverside is very fertile and conducive to the growth of trees. And since Canada is located in the temperate or cold region, therefore we have coniferous forests on the shores of this river. Another important river of Canada is the St. Lawrence River. This river is of extreme economic importance. And why is that? Because it connects Lake Ontario with the Atlantic Ocean. So there are many liners or cargo ships that can actually go way inland into Canada and do trade, or for commercial purposes they can enter well into the land of Canada. The Rhine River is one of the longest and one of the most important rivers of Europe. It traverses through Germany and also parts of Netherlands. It crosses the borders of Switzerland and also Austria. Beautiful cruises are conducted on the Rhine for tourists, just like the same happens in the river Nile. Because of its pristine location and pristine beauty and locational advantage, there are many cruise ships that travel on these rivers like the Rhine and the Nile. So it gives the tourism industry a boost. Can you see the beautiful castle in this picture? It sort of resembles the Disney logo that we see before our favorite animation films begin. The Danube River is one of the most interesting rivers of the world because, being the second longest river, it actually crosses the boundary of 10 countries, some of them being Germany, Austria, Hungary, Croatia, Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, etc. So it's one of the longest rivers, and its most unique features is that it is shared by so many countries. The next river again is one of the most important rivers of the world and also in history, because the Indus River triggered the growth of one of the most ancient civilizations of the world, that is the Indus Valley civilization, the two main centers being Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. The Indus flows through Pakistan and drains into the Arabian Sea. The important tributaries of Indus are Ravi, Jhelum, Satluj, Chenab, and Bias. The most important river of India, or the main river system of our country, is the river Ganga. It is the holiest river of our country. It has its source in the Gangotri Glacier and it travels 2,600 kilometers, draining the entire northern part of India, making the states like Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal one of the most fertile areas of our country before it drains into the Bay of Bengal. This is the main reason why India is an agro-based economy, because the Ganga deposits such a lot of silt that northern India thrives on its agriculture. Several different types of crops are grown all across the fertile basin of the Ganga River. And there are many holy cities which have grown or which have come up on the banks of Ganga, for example, Benares. Two more important rivers which have contributed to the development of the ancient Chinese civilizations, they were the Huanghe River and the Yangtze Kiang River. The Huanghe River is very different from other rivers because of the yellowish silt that is present in it. The silt, the fertile mud or a mixture of pebbles, sand, clay that is carried by the river is generally brownish or grayish in color. But this particular river carries silt which is yellowish in color, which is the reason why this is also known as the Yellow River. But one important aspect of the Huanghe River is the fact that it often floods its banks, which is the reason why several villages have to bear the brunt of the river's rage. So, it is also, apart from being called the Yellow River, is known as the sorrow of China. The other river which I spoke about was the Yangtze Kiang River. You can see in the map that it flows south of the Huanghe River. It is the longest river in Asia and it is very helpful. Look at the silt or the color of this river. It's again normal. It's grayish brown and it is very helpful for cultivation of rice, and rice cultivation is a major agrarian occupation of China. The Ob River flows in Siberia. It rises, as you can see, in the southern parts of the country and flows northwards, crossing the Arctic Circle. So, when it becomes very, very cold, the area where the Ob River meets the sea becomes frozen. So, naturally, the river water rising from the source has no scope of reaching the frozen sea. As a result, it floods its banks and the areas where the Ob drains after rising from the highlands, they are quite marshy in nature. In summer, when the areas beyond the Arctic Circle, the ice melts or thaws, it is then that the water of the Ob River is able to drain into the sea. The Murray River is Australia's longest river. It is the third longest navigable river of the world after the Amazon and Nile. By navigable, we mean that ships and big boats can ply easily on it. As you can see in the cornermost picture, it is a picture from the 1950s when the Murray River caused a severe flood in Australia. So, the importance of rivers. Rivers make the soil fertile by depositing silt, and it helps in agriculture all over the world. We have seen that is true for Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, South America, all across the world. People and animals naturally get drinking water from rivers. Rivers also help in washing and cleaning. Ships and boats plying on rivers help in transport and trade, as we have seen that the St. Lawrence River of Canada is instrumental in trade and commerce. Rivers play an important role in the generation of hydel power, by which we mean it generates hydroelectricity. That is only when they have a steep fall from a great height. The power of the river as it falls or hits the ground can be converted then to electricity. And naturally, there are many attractive tourist spots along river banks. So, rivers we can see they play a very, very important role all over the world in the socio-economic perspective.